Welcome everyone to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. And tonight we're going to talk about something that's not too appetizing. SAG AFTRA is seeking approval to strike against video game companies now. So if them taking on the Motion Picture Association wasn't enough, they're going to go after video games now. Just when video games are starting to recoup from all the COVID stuff and they're starting to roll out games, SAG AFTRA is ready to strike to basically shut down or slow down that industry. So basically they're seeking basically the same thing they are for the Motion Picture Association. They're seeking protection from AI, which makes sense to me. You know, they need to get paid. They need to get paid for their likeness, their voice, all that stuff. That's no big deal to me. They're also, like I said, asking for a retroactive increase of 11% in rates for video game performers, followed by a subsequent increase of 4%, which is the same increase as asking for from the American Motion Picture Association group. The union is also seeking rest periods for safety precautions, including a ban on stunts during self-tape auditions. An on-set medic is also required. Ballots for the strike authorization are due by 5 p.m. on September the 25th. So they're asking their members, are you guys ready to strike against the video game industry as well? I don't know. I can see the AI thing. You know, we'll kind of get into this. I can see the AI thing, but the retroactive and subsequent increase in pay and some of this other stuff almost doesn't make sense. Because, you know, oftentimes, unless you're doing some high budget Sony God of War type game, there's not a whole lot of motion acting, right? There's not a whole lot of physical acting, I should say. It's all visual, voice, you know. They're not actually performing the feats and actions themselves. But mocap, sometimes they do, but sometimes it's not really that. They're not really doing like major stunts. But and they don't really have to, right? Because you don't get to see that they're doing it. It could be a stunt double or whatever. But this will be the first strike against video game companies since 2016 that lasted 11 months the last time they struck against video games. So does this mean we're going back to everybody's reading things in video games for a few years? Because, you know, there's going to be another multi-month, year-long strike against video games just when they're getting back on their feet and trying to shake off a few bad quarters. Are we heading into another video game recession because of this? Nick, what do you think about the SAG AFTRA group going after video games next? Do you agree with some of what they're going against, all of what they're pushing for, or what?
Yeah, well, I mean, not being in that industry myself, I don't have much of a leg to stand on, but yeah, I mean, some of the stuff makes sense and everything like that. I don't know, you know, what's the difference between, you know, the motion picture side versus the video game side. I mean, I know the difference between a movie and a game, but I mean, like when it comes to the actors and actresses that perform, right? I wouldn't think it would be on the same level, and that's kind of how it seems like they're putting it. But I mean, it could be a possibility that voice actors in video games doing voice acting, mocapping, whatever, maybe there hasn't been a price increase or these other things they're asking for, a medic on set and things of that nature. Maybe there hasn't been that in a long time. And so, you know, if celebrities or you know, because SAG's not just celebrities, it's also just all sorts of actors and actresses that are a part of it. You know, if they're trying to just get, you know, kind of, they're a part of the union and the union is just trying to have their seat at the table to get these actors and actresses more revenue and a better opportunity within this field, then then it's fine. You know, it's hard to say because I don't really know the ins and outs of that field of work, right? Even when it comes to the motion picture side of it, right? You know, it's not the biggest thing about that is it's not the big celebrities, you know, it's not the Tom Cruises and, you know, because those people have billions upon billions of dollars or millions upon billions of dollars. It's the, you know, the lesser known actors and actresses that are trying to, working their way up through the industry or whatever the case may be. For video games, yeah, I mean, it's nice to play a video game that has an actor, an actress, voice or their likeness, or them doing actual stunts and mocapping and stuff like that. But I find that it's not necessarily necessary in most games, right? You don't have to have something like that. So it makes it nice, like, a God of War or a Last of Us. It makes it nice to have those individuals doing that stuff. It really brings the game, to life in a sense, right? When you have people acting out the scenes and things like that, it really adds to it. So it really does add to it. But, video games, we haven't had, back in the day, we never had that stuff, a long time ago in retro games, when they made 3D games, it was just an animator animating the scenes and things like that. And, sometimes it's just text or, if they did have voice work, like, I don't know how many games may have had just the people that work at the office do voice work, right? It may not be the best, probably the crappiest voice work you've ever heard, but it's a video game. I don't know. I feel like video games are in a different production. Well, I mean, production wise, some video games are getting up there with movie style production, but I still think of video games kind of like, as far as production value, or not value, but just the way that production's put into place, I feel like movies are a higher tier than video games as far as production value, I should say. Like, because the thing of a movie, it's like all the explosions and makeup artists and costume artists and lighting and set design and all that stuff, where in video games, you do have that same kind of thing where you have artists and animators and things of that nature. But, do those things, I don't know, do they cost as much as, anymore, some games do, right? We hear about some values in games and they're like billions of dollars to make this game, which is crazy. But is that, and that's just everything in general. So maybe video games are getting to that point where the industry needs to change with the movie industry in that sense, right? Video games are not like they used to be back in the day, where it was a small subset of gamers that played. Video games are way more mainstream nowadays. That's why you have people like Peter Dinklage doing the robot in Destiny, or he did at one point. But you have like Keith Sutherland doing Big Boss and Metal Gear Solid 5 and or Phantom Pain. Was that 5? I think it was 5. And some other known celebrities, and then some voice actors have made themselves a name, like Troy Baker and stuff like that from Last of Us, and some of the other ones that do a lot of voice work, right? You recognize them now and stuff like that. So they probably do cost more to have on set and provide their voices. And so, maybe, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know enough. And I guess I feel like I'm weighing it on the work, right, that's needed for these. And it feels like the work needed for a movie is a much higher bar than the work needed for a video game. But again, I'm not in that industry, so I don't know. Maybe they are equal or close to the same, right? I don't know. What do you think, though?
Yeah, I'm in agreement with the whole AI thing, right? Protecting your likeness and your voice and your mannerisms and stuff. I think that's one of the major disruptors right now, right? Is people are doing so much with AI and stuff right now. Like, I've seen advertisements with people, famous people in it, that are like, I'm not hawking that product. That's a fake thing. And it's probably a scam, where once they get sent to cease and desist, or Facebook or wherever that ad's at gets told they need to stop, the shop just shuts down and goes somewhere else. They're not actually selling a product, or they're selling a sham of a product, a snake oil, So I can understand that AI is doing some crazy stuff right now with people's likenesses and voices. There's a whole genre on YouTube of people taking songs and music and remixing them in like a 60s or a 70s style with modern music, or taking old school music from the 60s, 70s, and beyond and putting a new school spin on it. Like I've seen, I'm sure everybody here's seen the Snoop Dogg audio that was taken and put into like another style. And he didn't sing that. Somebody did that completely with AI and it sounds just like Snoop. I mean, everybody's kind of heard a lot of these things going on. So it's a big deal right now. And I don't think, when you think about that is you get monetized on YouTube. I'm pretty sure those people that are making those videos are getting monetized. It's not their music. They didn't really do anything but feed stuff into an algorithm, an AI algorithm, and out pop this. They may put some visuals and some graphics with it or whatever, but conceptually, it's not their art. They had an idea. They pushed it through an AI engine and out pop this song or whatever. And guess what? Now they have this, and they're making money off of it. Video games and movies are a little bit different, right? Because they stand to make a butt ton of money. I mean, it's a strange world we're in right now, right? I mean, let's take for example, what Lance Reddick, just recently passed away, the voice of Zavala, and all this stuff, and in the John Wick movies. They decide, because there's no protection against it, besides being a morally decent human being and company, to just say, okay, we're going to have AI do the voice for Lance Reddick for us. And we're going to keep him alive in Destiny, and then we're going to use AI to bring him back in and put him in, the next John Wick movie. To me, that's a bad form, but I wouldn't put it past them to do it. And actors need to protect themselves. Because it's kind of funny to think about this. So I always like to do this thought experiment when this comes up. I don't remember how long ago it's been. It's been a while. Remember when they did the Tupac hologram concert? That's kind of something similar. It wasn't full AI. They just basically reconstructed it from, past performances and stuff like that. So they didn't have an AI bot put this together and do all that. But it's kind of the same thing. Everybody was super excited. I didn't hear a whole lot of backlash for that. But now it's like, oh my God, this is so simple to do. We're in trouble, people. So I'm all for that. I'm all for protection of that. Nobody should be able to use your likeness, your voice, and your manner, your way of doing things in a movie without your consent for free, or video game, or any other type of media. I mean, deep fakes and all this stuff are atrocious. The other part I'm not too sure about. I don't know enough about, like Nick said, I don't know enough about how voice acting works. Now, I've seen behind the scenes of like Christopher Judge doing Kratos in the God of War series, and he's doing the mocap along with I can't remember the kid's name, Atreus, and others, and Claudia Black in there as well, and everybody else, So there's some mocap stuff in there, but that's not the norm. I mean, that is not the norm for video games. Maybe there's some mocapping of faces typically, but the movement and actions in those games is typically not, mocapped. I think that's a small percentage of what we see. So they're asking for all of this other stuff that I'm like, does it really apply? And is it something that is relative and meaningful to fight for? Like if you're not doing mocap and stuff like this, why do you need a medic on set? Why do you need any of this stuff? Most of us go into work every day and don't have a medic on staff in case something happens to us, and we're talking on the phone all day or whatever, I can understand if you're doing stunts and stuff like that. Cool. Yeah. Whatever. You need that there, right? You need to have somebody there looking out for you in case an accident happens. And the quicker you have a medical personnel on staff in person there with you, the better, right? But, some of this stuff just seems weird. And I don't know what to think of. I don't know how pay raises and things work. So that's why I got to tiptoe and dance around this, because I don't know how they work in these industries. I'm assuming your agent and you negotiate. The only people who don't really get to negotiate are the extras and background actors. And I'm pretty sure there's a set standard pay for them. So I can understand negotiating for more for them because it's a set standard rate for them. But I don't know how you can ask for retroactive pay, because the only thing I can think of for retroactive is ongoing payments for something like you're getting royalties. Okay. You negotiated those rates and now you're asking to renegotiate those rates. That to me seemed deceitful. To an extent, I mean, you said, hey, I'm willing to work for this and I'll take decent royalties and this and that. And mind you, I'm not in this industry, so I have no experience and I could be wrong. Whatever. But from my understanding, you negotiate your rates before you do a job. Just like anybody else in this world, you're like, I agreed to go work for XYZ company because they agreed to pay me this salary rate, this whatever. But now you're like, I want an 11% retroactive increase with a 4% after. So anything going forward is going to be a 4% increase. That to me is kind of weird to ask for. But I'm not in this industry, so it is what it is. I can understand ban on asking to ban stunts on self-taped auditions. Well, of course, nobody wants you to front flip in your living room and break your neck on the coffee table or the couch, or break your couch, or land on your dog, or land on your kid, or something. Break your coccyx or something. I don't know. Nobody wants that, and I understand that. If you want somebody to do a stunt test, then they need to come into the studio and do it with a medic on staff, or somebody that can. They hurt themselves, they can take care of it. So that I understand. I do worry that the video games aren't going to play ball. Video game industry is not going to play ball, and we're going to be in for another multi-month, year-long strike, which is going to slow down the game industry. Which we just came out of a really bad few years for video games. They are just now, this is, in my opinion, they're just now coming out of that funk of people working from remote and delay after delay after delay of games, and we're starting to get games were starting to pile up, and get packed into back in a quarter of a year. But I don't work in that industry, so I could be misinformed, don't understand what I'm talking about, which is perfectly fine if somebody wants to speak up and say, doesn't work that way. But what I really want to know is, what are you retroactively increasing 11%? I don't know. I wouldn't think it was like I got paid 5 years ago for this movie, or 3 years ago, or 2 years, or a year ago. I got paid to be in this movie or game for X amount of dollars. And now I'm saying I want you to retroactively increase that pay by 11% and pay me more money, because I don't necessarily agree with that. You agreed to that when you signed up for the movie. That residuals is a whole nother thing that, you can't, a company and the person acting in the movie can't know how popular or how much play time that's going to get, right? I know there's syndication when shows get played over and over and over, like Big Bang Theory and all that stuff, and that's why they renegotiate their rates every year, along with their, what they're going to get paid, their stipends, and they're going to get paid every year for however many episodes air and stuff like that. But you agreed to that amount. I hate to say that, but if any normal person went to their boss and said, "Hey, boss, I know we agreed that you would pay me $30,000 salary, but I need to renegotiate this, or I'm going on strike. I need you to give me 11% increase retroactive for the last year to 5 years." You know what they tell you? They tell you take a hike. We'll find somebody else. I don't care how much that is. They'll go find somebody else. So I think this is a little bit out of touch. Maybe they need to change the way that they structure contracts. Maybe instead of saying I want an 11% increase, maybe they should standardize residuals instead of just saying, we get whatever. I don't know what the standard residual amount is, but everybody agreed to it before. Now you're asking for a retroactive increase. I don't agree with that, but I'm not in the industry, so can't really speak to that. Nick, anything else, man? I think we could probably beat this to death a little bit, but I agree with most of it. The pay retroactive thing, I can't envision that or see how that's even okay to ask for, or fair.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I'm sure more information will come out from it. I think right now they're trying to see if they want to do that, right? So, or if they want to, strike against the video game company. So if they do, there'll be more information and kind of, we'll learn a little bit more. Maybe learn a little bit more about how pay and compensation works in the voice acting field compared to the movie industry.
Right. But even the movie industry, I mean, I don't know how you feel about that, but asking for an 11% retroactive increase, I don't know. that doesn't seem like, that doesn't really sit well or seem to be any type of fair, any type of like, okay, it's like you agreed to something and now you're going to throw a fit because you got what you wanted, but now you want more. I mean, yeah, of course, ask for more going forward, right? I want more going forward, but don't ask for more retroactively. I need you to pay me the last year's salary plus 11% because even though I agreed to it, I'm upset about it and I want more. Because that's how it works, right? No matter what industry you're in, the company you work for makes more money every year because of your efforts. And some companies give pay raises every year and some don't. But they don't retroactively typically go back and give you more money for the past year because the company did so well. The product that you helped build, sell, support, install, whatever, did better. They're not going to retroactively increase your pay. So I don't, this is kind of a selfish, to me, that's selfish, but I'm not in the industry. So somebody correct me if I'm misspeaking about the 11% retroactive statement. Cause to me, that just says you're asking for money for a project you agreed to at a certain amount already.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
I need to go
more.
back to work and ask for 11% retroactive raise.
Right. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let us know what you think down in the comments. And please, by all means, if somebody knows what 11% retroactive increase is all about, is it on like for, is it on syndicated things like that, or just number of sales of something that's still ongoing? What is that all about? Because it just seems odd to me and seems a little asking for too much. But I could, like I said, not part of that industry. So let us know down in the comments. And if you're in that industry, let us know if you're in okay with that or what. I mean, everybody who is set to make bank off of this is probably okay with it, right? Because if I was on that side of the fence and I'm like, I'm gonna get 11% retroactive, I'd be okay with that, even though if it's not, it doesn't seem right to me. But companies make money hand over fist, regardless, whether that's movies, video games, average Joe businesses, companies, whatever. So let us know what you think down in the comments. And as always, we hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to catch you in the next one.